11 o'clock, an hour sacred to Britain for its association with armistice. 11 o'clock on Sunday, September the 3rd. The government's final warning to Hitler has been ignored, and a state of war once more exists between Great Britain and Germany.
They were quite frequent during between 1940-41. Probably every night they came over. The noise was a bit frightening, and the parents used to make us sleep under the bed as opposed to on the bed. They thought, well, if the roof came in, the bed might stop you from getting injured. One particular night we had where I lived in Ferry Road then, the other end of the block from us was about 50, 60 yards away, and there was a landmine. They used to come down with parachutes, and they just float around. They weren't aimed at any particular building, but this one came down and hit the block of flats at the end of our block in the street, on the corner of Ferry Road and Clive Street, and it killed everybody in the block. It must have been about 30 or 40 people. Well, rationing was a little bit difficult for the parents, mostly because they had to make sure that the children were given a varied diet with very little food. Butter was very, I think, an ounce a week. We had margarine more than butter, but pots of jam, that would be a month's supply, one pot of jam for maybe 4 or 5 children. Sweets were very few. I think you'd have an ounce of sweets for a month. So yeah, it was awful for the families to have to, and I think the parents at the time starved themselves to feed the children. We used to kick a little tennis ball around the street, or we'd tie ropes onto the arms of the street lights and swing around on them like Tarzan. We'd go up to the woods. We'd go to a place called Bunny's Island, which was just at the far end of Penarth Road. We used to climb over the fence and go across the river and up into Bunny's Island and play out there, pretend we were playing soldiers and what have you. Well, my father was already in the Royal Navy. He was a regular sailor, and he was, to be quite honest, I didn't see much of him. The first time I saw him, I was 3 years old. He did get torpedoed twice, once in the Atlantic, and he was on an aircraft carrier called the Audacity, and he was in the sea for about 3 or 4 days. And when he came, it was just before Christmas, 1941, I think. And when he came home, he'd lost a lot of weight, and he knocked on the door where we lived in Clive Street, and my grandmother didn't recognise him. She said, "Who are you?" or something, and he told her, and she was shocked. My father, when he came home on leave, he was only home briefly, probably 2 or 3 days at a time. But on one occasion, we were living in Ferry Road, and he was up in the attic room, which was like the top of the house, and he had his Navy binoculars, and he was looking across to see the ships coming in and out of the dock close to Penarth Point. And while he was doing that, the 2 policemen were walking past, and they spotted him. And so they went into the house and arrested him as a spy. And they took him to Grangestown Station and kept him there for about 4 or 5 hours until a member of the local naval staff in the docks came to verify who he was and got him released, took him back to the house in Ferry Road.